Hi. Hello there. Stacey, it
Hello.
is a delight to have you here today. I'm so excited you wanted to tell your story. It's such a triumphant one. Yay! Superhero
Yeah.
pose! Hey, everybody. I wanted to give you a chance to meet Stacey. Just an absolute hero of mine. You really are. Yeah, I love hearing anything you have to say. You've got such a way of uplifting everybody around you, and that's just exactly what you've been doing. And I thought, rather than me just talking about how awesome you are, I thought it would be a perfect opportunity for you to come share. I'm so glad you thought that was a good idea as well. Welcome, Stacey.
Thanks. So excited to be here. I've been thinking about it and thinking about it, and I love my story, and I'm happy to share it.
Well, yay. So I'm just gonna let you go and talk to us. Tell me, what were you dealing with, and where would you like to start?
So, when I found your Facebook post, it just like hit me up on the side of the head. I was at the tail end of a 17, 18-year relationship, and with my husband and our daughter, who was 8. And about 3.5 years ago, there was a marital crisis. And the marital crisis really kind of broke me open. I saw a counselor for a while who did really, really great things for me. Like, she was really she got me down the path. I read books and books, and I did online courses and this and that. I did so much thinking and so much reading and so much trying, and I was doing all of those things, but I was also steadily taking steps to get out of my marriage. I had gotten out from under the car payment. I had my own car. About 1.5 years ago, I bought, I leased a townhome. And at the time that I saw your post on Facebook, I was like, okay, I've had my townhome for a year and I haven't moved into it. And I've been doing all these things to get to where I know I need to go. Like, I knew I had to do it, and I knew I had to take these steps, but I was taking it with fear, with self-doubt, and like disbelief. Because I told a friend of mine once, I said, he doesn't even think that I'm gonna do it. And then I realized, I'm like, I don't think I am either. I don't even believe that I'm going to do it, but I have to. And so I was in this quandary, this dilemma, like, I have to do it, and I know what I need to do. And I kept thinking, like, I'm going to come to this end of a cliff. And every time I knew, like, oh, I got to jump, I couldn't jump. And I was just stuck.
Yeah.
And so I saw the Facebook post, and I listened to the hour-long thing. And then the next morning I was on the call with Julie, and then it happened so fast. But the call with Julie in itself was so powerful. I mean, I had insights. One of the insights was that I realized that I have known for 20 years that this was not the right relationship for me. And and that's huge. I mean, that's a huge, like, oh my God. And I just thought, I have to do this program. I have to do it. I knew that I had to do something, and I felt in my gut that this was it. Partly timing, partly the connection with Julie, and partly like your confidence. After talking to you, and you seemed legit, like you've been on CNN, you've been around for a while. And so I just felt like there was enough pieces in place that I wasn't going to be, I don't know. I just felt comfortable enough to dive in.
Yeah. Can I interrupt for just 1 second?
Yeah.
not for a second, I want to say something. There's a very familiar space that you're speaking about, and my team and I. You're talking about Julie. That's one of our team members here, also my sister. But Julie, there's this common phenomenon that we hear on these calls, and we speak to like 150 people a month, and so we hear a lot of patterns. So many familiar things come up, but there's this quandary that so many people find themselves in where it's, I want to do something, I need to do it. I've known for, in your case, 2 decades that I've got to do this thing. This isn't right for me, and I need to true myself up with what is right. And yet we don't do it. And, I'm not pretending like I'm superhuman and I've never faced that. I created my education from crawling my own way out of hell. I know what it's like to face that, but how was that for you?
It was, oh God, it was maddening. Like, I have to do it. I know I have to do it. And I'm reading and thinking and talking and doing all of these things, but still not doing what I need to do, but knowing that I have to. And it's just insanity. It's insanity, and it'll make you crazy. And so I knew, like I said, I had to do something. And the thing that you deliver is how do I do this? I know I need to do it, but I've read and I've talked and I've thought and I've seen therapists and counselors, and how do I do it? And you provide a step-by-step way to do it with exercises and support and structure. There were elements of the program that I felt like I knew. Like, I know about this. I know about that. I know that I need to own my part in it. And I know, I know certain things, but you just pulled them all together in a way that was tangible and doable and in the right sequence. And the thing that's amazing to me is, like, everyone in the group, everyone had a breakthrough. Not just me, not just Helena. I mean, every person. And that's why the confidence of you being able to deliver is just blows my mind, that it's a formula that works.
So let me ask you a question. Thank you. And yes, I'm unwilling to tolerate anything else than that. Let me ask you a question. There's usually an eye of the needle that people go through in the program. And it's either the act of whatever it takes to register, or once they get in, and it's like, it kind of looks like skepticism meets everything that's ever stopped you or daunted you or challenged you in the past. And you come face to face with it by design. It's not random or happenstance. That shows up like that. And some people are like, no, not the actual thing that always stops me. What was that for you?
It's not gonna work for me. I don't know how to do this. I'm gonna do it wrong. Or just the base level of self-doubt, and just like, and that was where everything stemmed from. All of my relationships, and actually my self-doubt and the way that it manifested in my life. And ironically, a seemingly insignificant family event. I wasn't abused. I wasn't kidnapped. My trauma, on the spectrum of trauma, wasn't this big scary thing. It was just this thing that happened that made me realize the way that I view myself and the way that I view the world created a person who was okay to be number two. Like, I'll be your number two, and I'll do what you want to do, and I'll go along for the ride. But I really mastered the art of passive aggression. I never thought I was passive aggressive. I thought I was this confident, happy, independent woman. And I am those things more so now, but now I believe it. Now I know it. Now I own it. Whereas before, it was part of the thing I said about myself, but I didn't really believe it. And so the self-doubt just manifested itself in so many ways that I was not authentic to myself. In my relationship, I had, my partner would devalue me. And then I realized I'm like, I devalue myself. And so all of these things and there's a point in the program, I don't know exactly where it is, and it's fairly early on with this, the difference in your brain and how it works, like there's this flipping that happens, the light bulb that goes off, and then there's all of this, after that, I see people in the program go, whoa, I see all of this, and then it's like, whoa, it's these highs and lows, but you've got other people that have been before you, that support you, and I think even the formula itself, but the group, the people, the support, the stories, we all tend to isolate ourselves, and everyone in the group comes there with love and like pulling you along and giving you love, and it's just so amazing.
Stacey, what was it like going through life with self-doubt and being number two? Being okay to not come first,
Well, I was fine with it until I ended up where I didn't want to be. And then I had someone else to blame for it. I didn't take ownership of where I was because, well, you made the decision to get here, so it's your fault, and I just always had this constant, chatter in the back of my head that was, why do I have to do that? This all constantly in my head. And again, at a certain point in the program, like I realized, over the holidays, being in a situation where we're not fully separated, but still knowing that that's where we're going, but we still had to make a nice holiday. Last year, I was, incessant chatter, resentment, fear, guilt, anger. And this year for Christmas, it's gone. It wasn't even something that I had to let go of. It wasn't even there. It wasn't even there. It was just gone. And I was joyful and had a great holiday. And the other thing, well, so many other things, but not only for what it's done for me, it's allowed me to have a softness and a compassion for my partner that, the contempt and the disdain and the resentment is gone. And there's an empathy and a compassion. And it's not a pity, it's a compassion. And what's one of the things I wanted to get across here is that after having gone through the program, it's like, this is so within reach. This is within reach for everybody. It's so close, and anybody can do it. And me and my stories, I always think of ways like metaphors and stuff. So here's my metaphor. You're in this world or in a room on one side of the glass, and you're looking at the other side, all the other people in the other room of what you want and what everything that you want. And here's this big barrier between you and what you want. And you're living in this room, but you're looking through the glass at the other people and thinking, God, I really want to be over there. I really want to be over there. So you read about the glass wall and you think about the glass wall, and it's impenetrable. So you hit it and you try to beat it down, but you can't. So you try all these things. And then at some point you come to the realization that, oh my gosh, there's a door. There's a door over there. But you go to the door and there's all these warning signs. Danger, 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 toxic, don't go to the door. And there's locks on the door, all these different locks and chains on the door. But the locks are on your side. They're locks that you unlock. You have the key to the locks that need to be unlocked. And the sign on the door that's scaring you from going in, it's different for everybody. So you have to first discover that there's a door, and then you have to unlock the locks, and then you walk through the door and you're on the other side. So it's there for everybody, but everybody's door is different. Everybody's signs and locks are different, but the process to get there is the same. Like, I feel like you've given us like a decoder ring, to be able to figure out, how to do it. So,
so that analogy, I never heard of anything like that. I love that. Yeah. And the decoder ring, I think that's fantastic. So what now, Stacey? What does life look like now? I got it on the other side. It was just maddening. You were trying to figure out why are you stuck? Why do you have self-doubt? How do you get to the other side? Now what's true for you?
This is a common theme, is just, I feel like I've come home to myself. Like, I am me. I'm my happy, authentic, goofy self, and I am me, and I'm happy. And even though, like, I'm doing the same things that I was doing 4 months ago, like moving forward, taking these baby steps, I was doing it from a place of, fear and trepidation. Now I'm going forward like, I got this. And when I come up against, and this is one of my mechanisms, like, I'm gonna do this, but then I hit resistance and I go, oh gosh, I'm too tired, I can't do this. And they say I shouldn't be doing this, so I shouldn't be doing this. And then I get, oh, okay, now it's time again to push, and then defeated and deflated. And now it's like, if somebody's throwing darts, it's like, oh, got it. Matrix, like, the dart goes past me, and there's no threat. The dart doesn't threaten me. It doesn't hurt me.
Wow. Yeah.
It's, it goes past. I'm like, cool. It's just the ability to be present, to have tools and things that I can do if I'm having an off day. I know, like, oh, I know what I need to do. I need to call a buddy, or I need to, do one of our things to get, to flip your state. And seeing you go through a couple of life altering events, and seeing you work the same tools, the same, you walk what you talk, or you talk what you walk, whatever, you do it yourself. Like, that you need to do this and this to get over it. Like, the all powerful Cheryl Hunter is a real person who has to do this too, because we're all human. And that's like the thread. We are all humans that need, whether it's a horrible event or some small little event, if you're stuck, like, I was just stuck. Whoops, I keep hitting my computer. I'm sorry. I was just stuck. And now I'm not. Now that cliff, like, I more than just like jumped off the cliff. Like, I've got, a little squirrel bodysuit on, and I'm like, I'm skydiving and surfing the thermals. Like,
yeah. you the perfect metaphor for the whole thing is, you talked about, you knew that you had to make the change. You got your own new home, the townhome, and yet never moved in, and you'd had it more than a year. And it's kind of like, when we speak to people, it's like, I know this other life exists for me. I've built the home, so to speak, like, mentally, I know I could be there. I envision it. I see it. And it's kind of like, oftentimes the only person who's keeping us from that is us. And it's so freaking confounding sometimes to go, wait, I know this is the thing. I know I'm in the way, and I'm working hard. I'm trying, but I'm just doing the wrong action or something. Yes. And it's such a great metaphor. You had the place.
Oh, yeah. How do I do it? Or why haven't I done it? What's wrong with me that I can't do this thing?
That's the most common place that I find people go. Therefore, something's wrong with me.
Right.
And when we live our lives like, something's wrong with me, which is, very predictable, developmental trauma of some kind, somewhere along the spectrum of trauma, it hits us as a kid. And I mean, something seemed traumatic at the time, which, as you've just pointed out, doesn't have to seem traumatic to anybody necessarily. But to you as a child, it was like, enough to stop you in your tracks. But that makes us feel like something is broken in my world. And because developmentally as children, we are the center of our world, we think, therefore, something's broken with me.
Right.
And then we live out our whole lives in the impact of that, wondering, what the holy hell?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that me, a intelligent, intended person, people will say, can't accomplish the simple thing that I want, or I feel like crud all the time, or I have self-doubt, like you said, or I'm confident coming in second all the time, but it was just not consistent or true with who you really are. So I acknowledge you for being willing to go through the eye of the needle, because that's truly, no kidding, what it is.
Yeah.
And you being willing to share your story and illustrate that it's different for every person. What breaking free is a distinct phenomenon for each of us. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't all look the same. And as each of you comes on and so courageously shares your world, it makes that possible for anybody else who's having that thought, who's gripped by self-doubt and wondering how. Yes. I'm smart. How do I fix it? I've been trying everything I know there is to try. What's the deal? What's the problem? What's wrong with me?
Right. And the other thing is that someone can bring something up as innocuous as clutter. I have clutter and I can't get rid of it. Or I don't want to celebrate my birthday. I don't like to be celebrated. Like those things, you're always able to go back and say, guess what? Where is that coming from? And so just to be able to see it, and now I see it everywhere, in people, in movies, in myself or my home. And I just feel like I am so grateful that I'm able to do this for me, but for my mom who passed away and she didn't get to do this, and for my daughter. And for the longest time I had that, cultural, gotta stay together for the kids. I had this megaphone in my ear about, and then I was able to like flip it where it's like, no. The best thing for her is to see me being my authentic self rather than to be this, smaller person who is not being true to herself. Like that is the tragedy. That's the tragedy. So she gets to experience this energy and this, and my mom, she taught me to be confident and independent and a strong woman, but I wasn't living it, and so now like I'm buying what I'm selling. My mom was trying to sell it to me, but she didn't believe it. So she couldn't, sell it to me. And so now like I am walking the talk, so. Yeah.
And you bring up such a good point. It's like you talked about like the person with the birthday saying, I don't celebrate my birthday, or I've got clutter and I don't understand it. And then we point out, well, where did it come from? But the difference is the decoder ring, as you were calling it, is so often in life we go, I know where all this nonsense is coming from. Why doesn't that help? I know why I compulsively overeat, because my mom whooped my butt in the supermarket at age 6. But it doesn't, knowing it and solving it are truly 180 degrees apart.
Yes.
And that's what's so vexing so often for people. They're like, I know what my problem is. I'm a smart person. And it's almost worse to know where it comes from and to be impotent in terms of turning it around.
Yeah, that would make it even worse. Yeah. Like I know where it comes from, but I'm still stuck.
Right.
Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Hold on. Mm-hmm.
Did you make notes? You're amazing.
I think I got it all. Although, I could go on and on.
Here's what I want to ask. There are a lot of people who, as you could imagine, a lot of people we speak to every single month that have been dealing with the cancer of self-doubt, and it eats away at what's possible for them and impacts and limits everything they want to do in their life. That is the calling of their heart and soul and why they were born, and they know it. What would you say, like, to people who feel like it's just not possible for them to transform? And I'm not talking about in terms of the program, but what would you say? Is it possible to break through that? Is it too late ever? What are your thoughts?
Oh, obviously, I don't think it's ever too late. We've got an amazing mentor in the program who was 65, and did it at 65. And she's such an inspiration. And me at 50, part of myself kicks myself that I didn't do it sooner. But I recognize that it was the trauma, the crisis had to happen to open me up. But as to the self-doubt and overcoming it, like, you can do self-affirmations all day long. You can do vision boards. You can do all of these things. But until you get deep and have the faith, and maybe at the beginning of the course, I didn't trust myself, but I trusted you, and I trusted the science behind it. You've got real science behind, neuroscience and brain science and all of that. So that behind it. So I think just that you can overcome self-doubt in a healthy way, because you could say, well, you could say, well, I'm not going to listen to what anyone else says. You don't know what you're talking about, but that's totally different than just having a confidence that you don't need anyone else's approval. Yes, no, it doesn't matter. You just, that knowing. I finally went from a place of not knowing and indecision and disbelief to a place of belief and trust and knowing, a place of knowing. Like, wow. And I did it with your help. I got there.
And when you believe in yourself, like, it's unshakable, it's the ground upon which you stand, what's possible?
Anything. Everything.
And what's going to stop you now?
Nothing.
And of all the gifts you could give to your daughter, is there any gift you could give her more than believing in herself?
No, that authenticity, that being authentic with yourself, because I wasn't authentic with myself. I didn't love myself. I had this, I'm strong and powerful. I can't do this. And it's exhausting. So that, like, integration and that wholeness, just, you don't realize all the energy and the time that you spend in that cave, in that chatter, in that it takes up all the space in your head, all the space around you. So when that's gone, it just, like, opens up, just like, it's just limitless,
Yeah. You know how we talk about bending time in the program, mm-hmm. and it's like, wait, there's only so many hours in the day. I can't do whatever's most important. It's like, how about reallocating all that time you spend telling yourself how worthless you are?
Yes.
It's amazing how much time you have now, right?
Yes.
Damn.
And sometimes we talk to ourselves in a way that we would never speak to anybody else, like, so horribly. But other ways, it's a little sneakier. It's a little more insidious, that you don't realize, like, wow, I was really doing that to myself. And you just can't see it. You can't see it until you have somebody to hold up the mirror, or for you to see it in somebody else helps you see it in yourself.
Yeah. So
those are all of the components. It just really just made it work for me, and I'm so thankful.
Stacey Tuttle, you're such a delight. Thank you. Thank you for being on this call. And really, it's like we say all the time in the program, when you are free and when you are able to accomplish anything, when one person does it, it becomes possible for us all. When you have a breakthrough and demonstrate that it's possible, everybody can have that same breakthrough.
Yes.
So it's you being here makes that possible for people. Thank you. And you've been so great and so generous and courageous about sharing what's truly there for you. Not the polished up, pretty version, but like authentically. And that right there is a massive testament to the true courage you have and fearlessness you have. Thank you for the contribution.
Thank you. And you're welcome.
Yay. So if you want to get started and get on a call just like this, like we were talking about with Stacey, like have the call you first got on with Julie, this is how to do it. CherylHunter.com/apply. I'll drop it in the chat as well. All righty. It has been a delight being with you. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you just rise and rise and rise. Thank you.
Stay tuned.
I will. Thanks, Stacey.
Bye.